to start, we're going to cover assembling the turret itself. It's pretty straightforward. There's just one bit that needs a bit of attention and a bit of care when you're doing it, and that's fitting the bias spring that sits on there. So I'll just whip that out now. So this is the bias spring, and that sits on there more or less like that. These two fingers sit over here, and they just touch on the pins there from the pivot. This part of the spring though, he lives down here, and this is why we need to fit it correctly so that actually everything's in the right place, and it's basically just retained through a pin, a roll pin through there, like that. Obviously, to get this the right way around, and for it to work properly, we need to get it the right way around, so we don't want to be fitting it like that. Super easy to fit it, and you know, it's just a case of whacking it in there, but it's going to be absolutely no good to you whatsoever. So to actually fit this, we need to sort of fit it backwards, and almost the wrong way around, but not. It makes more sense when you're doing it. So you start by putting the two legs down on the floor, so this part's facing out, and you fit it like that. You'll actually be able to get it the right way around, so the pin would go in there like that. It's like a press fit through there, it's quite a tight fit. When it comes to actually putting the roll pin in, I do it in the vise. In true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. So that's exactly as I've just mentioned. I've fitted it backwards of a fashion, but you can see obviously that's not going to work. Doing that, we need to get this part down here, put the fingers over the top, so it's quite simple the way we're going to do that. All we're going to do is swing the fingers round this way, to where they need to be. So the best way I've figured out to doing this, to get the spring round, the fingers round to the right place, is with two small sockets, preferably long ones, deep ones, sorry, and then a long extension. You'll need to do it in the vise or you know, G-clamp down or something like that, because the spring's quite tight. But I'll put the extension on like that. Sorry, the socket on like that, and then I can put that in there, and I won't be able to do it here, but you can basically swing that round and get it behind here first. When you've got it to there, you don't want to go all the way around, because you'll stretch the spring and you'll lose the tension on it. You can unclip it, leave the socket on there, do the other side, so you've got that around to here, and then move back, or you can stay on that one I guess, and get it around to here. And then move along and just do it side by side, and it's pretty safe doing it that way. You're not gonna hurt yourself, you're not gonna damage the spring. When you do it and you bend out too far, you will bend the spring here, so then this point here and here will be greater. It'll be there, for example. So all you'll need to do is bend it back the right way. I'm quickly going to jump in the vise and just do that, so you can see the finished article. Okay, so I've flipped the springs around. As you can see, I've left the sockets on the spring just for ease. Eventually, obviously, these are going to come up here when we've assembled everything else and put the pivot in. So the next step is just building up the remainder of this, and then we're going to fit it to the stand, which is super straightforward, but we'll just go through it real quickly. So we've got the two M6 bolts with the nuts. I'm just going to wind them on about halfway up the bolt, sorry, like that, and then they go in either side of the turret into there, and I'm just going to wind them in. It doesn't really matter at this stage how far you wind them in, just do it evenly. Same again on this one, about halfway roughly, like so. And then eventually these are the adjusters for the spring and just adjusting your gate, so when we do flick them up to there. Next I'm going to get the stand, and I'm going to bolt that up there like that, and it's just straightforward using these 4 bolts with the nuts. I'm just very quickly just going to drop them in there and then tighten them up. Okay, cool, so I've just bolted that up and tightened up the bolts like that. It's pretty straightforward, obviously. We've got the other M6 and the flat washer, and they live together. They drop through, and then that winds in there, and that retains this so it can't just pull out. So I'm not going to put that in just yet. In the previous part of the video, I didn't mention this rubber O-ring that you do get in the kit, and that just sits in the groove there. So I'm just going to flick that on, like so. And that goes on there, lovely. You've got the 2 grub screws, obviously they just wind in there, like that. I'm not going to wind them all the way in just at the minute, but gets them off the bench and saves you losing them. And then you've got the spring, and the nylon end, sorry, and they fit in there, and that drops in there like that. And then to get this to go in, we'll need to push that all the way in, and you can use the extension, which I'll show you in a bit, to help push that in when we're actually doing it on the gearbox in the car. So I'm not going to bother doing that in a minute.